Tracking, and this morning we'll be reviewing the front pages of the dailies and also analyzing them. And of course, let's move straight to the front page of Vanguard newspaper. And Vanguard this morning is leading with strike. A federal government considering ban on ASUU to approach a national industrial courts, approves additional 100 billion naira to varsities. Register a union now. ASUU's rival Konoa tells the federal government, and you can see that on page 7 and on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Now, inside of the business, we have unpaid claims. NICA moves to aid hearing insurance firms. Affected firms withheld annual report for 6 years. Unable to pay claims for many years and failed to recapitalize and attract new investors. On page 9, we have a PDP crisis. Atiku's camp may call Wike's bluff, announce a campaign committee. On page 6, we have gunmen kidnap 4 Reverend Sisters in Imo. Insecurity, Nigeria was better on that PDP that's coming from Okowa. Also, power supply affects others, discouraging foreign investors in Nigeria, and that's coming from Japanese envoy. And you can see the stories on pages 6, 12, and 11. On page 7, we have a Paris Club refund. We didn't take $100 million from consultants for state elections, and that's coming from governors. On page 35, we have a train attack. Christian Association of Nigeria seeks a quick rescue of Asofa Louis and others. On page 11, we have you are a source of inspiration to many. Omo Agege tells Olu of Wari. And on page 34, we have bandit kingpin Dogo Gide says there's a large firm in Beniguari, and of course the dog and praise priest priest in Zamfara. That's another kidnapper kingpin, and of course you can see that on page 34 also. On page 7, we have new electricity bound will resolve tariff short firms. It falls in the power sector. That's coming from Oshibajo. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, on page 14, the presidential interview, Atiku says, I am driven by passion to serve and give back. And you can get that inside Vanguard newspaper. Now, away from there, we'll move to the Punch newspaper. Punch is leading with 578-day strikes. Angry lecturers dumping universities. ASUU laments government's shoddy treatment, pushing lecturers out of coming from ASUU president. 70% of bright, promising young lecturers leaving Nigeria, says a Unilag ASUU chair. Federal government to pay universities management 170 billion naira and allowances and others. And here we have photo stories with readers saying military end siege to Somali hotel, 21 dead. You can see that on page 43. On pages 4 and 5, we have black marketers' wife, children die in Lagos explosion. Ikoyi building, subscribers sue Lagos seek compensation. 353 Kiri inmates on death row, says NCOS, and you can see that on page 10. And stories above, we have federal government concludes takeover of 4 discos, and you can see that on page 25. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have $418 million. Malami has abandoned Attorney General Federation role, says NGF, and you can see that on page 18. Away from that, we'll move to The Nation. The Nation is leading with electronic transmission of results states, says INEC. No manual system next year. CSOs demand compliance with Electoral Act. You can see that on page 4. And still on page 4, we have why inflation won't drop now by experts. And on The Nation, also, we have $418 million Paris Club refund roll. Governors are not consultants. NGF accuses Woko of dishing out half-truth on $100 million gift claim. And we have no cash diverted to fund elections in Ekiti, Ondo, Bauchi states. Attorney General Malami accused of working against public interest. And stories above, we have welfare resident doctors serve 2-week ultimatum over welfare. You can see that on page 2. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, we have SEC seeks tax exemption for corporate bonds, and you can see that on page 2. Now let's move straight to The Guardian. On The Guardian, we have a stranded fund. Foreign airlines withdrawal to cost Nigeria $1.36 billion. And air transport in debt throws as more carriers consider exit of a $464 million stock fund. Orders of Air Peace SAA as South Africa restrained visas to Nigerian travelers. Also, stakeholders warn of losing Nigerian market to neighboring countries, seek caution and engagement with operators. And below on page 6, we have 2 days to 5G rollout. MTN claims readiness, and MAFAB targets January 2023. And the stories above, we have Igbo Day. Ohaneze denies inviting Obi, Tinubu, and Atiku. And you can see that on page 7. Also, we have monkeypox infections, death toll, Cuba, Indonesia record index cases. And you can see that on page 4. And lastly, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we have impeached Buhari for gross incompetence, and you can see that on electoral page, and that's on page 40. And that's all we have for you on the front page of Guardian newspaper this morning and the front pages of the dailies this morning. Now, joining us after the break is our guest to analyze the front pages of the daily. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Damilola Okumshaki. And joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Ali Mohammed. He is the CEO of Magnet Communication, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Good morning, Mr. Lee.
Good morning, Damilola. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's move straight to the front pages of the dailies. Now, of course, it's 578 days since the strike, ASUU strike. And the federal government have said they may consider option of proscribing ASUU if it fails to call off the prolonged strike. What do you think about this? Is the strike a good one?
No, it's not.
Coming from federal government?
It's not the best approach to it. Like I keep saying, there must be compromises on both sides. You have to consider the students that have been at home for over 6 months doing nothing. Some of them have become criminals because, like the elders says, an idle hand remains the devil's workshop. A lot of youths have gone into criminal activities because they have been idle, doing nothing at all. Students that are supposed to be in the university are just waking up and sitting and eating at home. A lot of them have become so frustrated. Descending heavily on the lecturers will not solve the problem. From my understanding of the demands of ASUU, there have been promises on some payments which has not been honored by the government. There is nothing wrong in coming out with the figures and the true situation of things instead of hiding all these things. What I see in all the negotiation that has not been successful is the fact that government has been hiding some facts which should be. You see, if you are in a helpless situation, why don't you open up and let these people understand your situation? Then go ahead and make promises, written promises. We are in a democratic system. I want to remind the government that it is a democracy and not a military government. You can't just go ahead and proscribe ASUU. If you proscribe ASUU, you are going to cause trouble. You are going to further inflame the crisis that people are already looking at several ways of solving. Look at some state universities. Their lecturers are pulling out of the strike. Some states in the north, their lecturers have pulled out. And I think, like I keep saying, the lecturers too should consider the fact that their own children may be among the people that are at home. The rich people in Nigeria are sending their children abroad. So they don't feel too concerned about whether the students stay at home for 1 year or 2 years. They are not bothered about that. So they should consider the interest of these children, go in for a written agreement, take whatever the government can offer, suspend the strike, and then you can continue to struggle and fight for whatever payments that are outstanding.
But the
That's my
government
opinion.
is saying there are some things that they've done that ASUU is not appreciating. For example, they said they approved that the government has approved 35% increase in salary for professors and a 23.5% increase for other lecturers. They've also approved 50 billion for end allowances for striking unions. And not just that, they've also approved 100 billion for universities and 57 billion for polytechnics and college of education.
That to me should be acceptable to the striking lecturers. If the government, if it is true that the government has done so much, then I think they should accept to call off the strike. And then you can always put pressure on government to ensure that the budget that has been given to them, the government is able to actualize it, not by insisting that everything must. It is not possible for government to actualize all those promises. 100 billion in one day.
But you know, it's been a long time we've been coming with this ASUU, and these promises keeps coming. They keep promising. And don't you think they're just trying to end this just in one? Just
that's
one
what I just said. You can't have all those huge sums of money in one day. It is not possible. Because the government too must earn revenue, enough revenue, all over the world. Now, most economies are facing serious challenges. Even in the UK, the cost of petrol has gone up. Inflation is at the highest level in the UK. So the government of Nigeria is not exonerated from all this economic crisis. Yes, we have some bad management in the area of our economy, but it is not enough to say that everything that has gone wrong over the years must be corrected in one day. I am surprised that we could stay out of school. Students could stay out of school for over 6 months. It is shocking. Some of these students have gone into. They arrested 4 of them in Ogun State last week for criminal activities. And this is due to the fact that they are not where they ought to be. They should be in school. They are at home. When the parents go out of the house, they see themselves as the Lord and Master. And they go into all sorts of criminal. Some of them have gone into drug addiction. They are now addicted to drugs, which normally they wouldn't do if they are occupied. So I want to plead with ASUU at this stage as a parent that they should consider whatever the government has offered and then fight on while the universities are in session. You can as well make your points and remind government that, look, you made this pledge, you are yet to redeem it. There must be compromises. If we continue to behave like this for 1 year, these students will be out of school.
Some other groups have shelved their own strike for 2 months, like NASU and SANU. They've all shelved theirs.
I read
but
that
with
over
this
the weekend.
now, the fact that federal government has done enough, like you said, like they've done some things for them.
Yes.
Do you think if they don't do they deserve to be banned, like the federal government is saying?
No. Banning ASUU, like I said, is not the right way. It's not the right way. It's like you have a bad child and you want to kill that child. You don't kill your child. You sit down and talk sense into the head of that bad child. Not that you just go ahead and kill the child. That's the way I see what government intends to do. That's the way I see it. You don't ban ASUU because ASUU is not listening to you. No, this is a democracy, for God's sake. We must be able to negotiate with them and let there be compromises from both sides. That's what I think. You don't ban ASUU. We've had all this ban in the era of military jackboots. It didn't work. So if they go ahead to ban ASUU, they are not helping this situation.
All right, let's move on and talk about the 2023 elections and, of course, PDP crisis. It's not, it's, of course, not new. It's been a long time that they've been, talking about this, seeing Wike's, Wike's request, requesting that ASUU should be removed, and not just him and some others. Now, PDP, they are saying they might have to go ahead without Wike's approval. If it keeps, being as strong as it is and, refusing to come down on this ASUU's removal request?
It is too early. ASUU came in when less than 1 year as chairman of the PDP. Whatever the grounds of Wike may be against ASUU, you don't demand for his resignation, because the entire party made ASUU the national chairman at a duly convened convention. So you cannot single-handedly call for the removal of ASUU. You see, if Governor Wike is a committed PDP man, like I keep saying, he should be able to come to an agreement with the other members of the executive, national executive of the party, and the presidential candidate. There has been an election which produced a candidate. Unfortunately, he lost that election. You don't sit and insist on destroying the party because you lost an election and because you see yourself as somebody that has funded the party for so long a time that everybody must bend backwards to satisfy whatever request you have, no matter how negative that request is. It is wrong. You see, the way PDP is going, if care is not taken, if they don't manage this crisis very well, it will cost them a lot in the general elections. We can keep insisting that when nobody was there, it was the one funding the party, funded all the elections that took place in the states, and it deserved to be heard. Yes, it's a fact. But you cannot insist that a man that was elected at a national convention, duly convened, must now be single-handedly removed by the members of the executive. It will take another convention to remove him. What he's trying to force the PDP to do is not right. He should come to terms with the fact that the man, Atiku, is a presidential candidate. If you can work with him, go ahead. If you cannot work with him, you don't destroy the party for your personal interest. It is wrong. That's my opinion.
But, you know, the issue right now is, of course, every quarrel you need a neutral person to, you know, to intervene. Now, between Atiku and, Wike, there's no neutral person, according to what they are saying. And the only neutral person now is the former president, that Jonathan. And, he has refused to intervene in this frosty relationship.
You don't say that Jonathan has refused to intervene. You must, first of all, appraise the current situation with Jonathan. Is he still in PDP? Is he still a strong PDP member? If yes, then you can easily tell us that he has refused to intervene. Don't forget that there were rumors that Jonathan was going to defect to APC. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. I see Jonathan as a man whose one leg is in PDP, the other is in APC, following his numerous interactions with APC members. For that reason, he may not be the right person to intervene. The only person that these characters will listen to is former President Obasanjo. And Obasanjo said he has retired from partisan politics, that he has chosen to be the father of all. So the only person that is probably in a position to resolve the issue is the national chairman, and Wike says he should go. So it's like the PDP is heading for a major crisis. The earlier they resolve this issue, the better, because you don't go to an election with to a battle with soldiers that are quarreling among themselves. There won't be cohesion and affect their chances in the general elections coming up in February.
Now, there are reports that, some people behind Wike, they've left him, like Senator Maiba have also left him, even, of course, Austin Okpara. And according to what they're saying, they said, he's just proving and working like he's a superhuman. And that's not just the fact. Now, the fact is that, Wike now there are reports that, Wike is attacking those people by going after the properties they own, like he went ahead to raid the police. I think what's it not the four, their filling station. He had to, the police had to go off after that. Also, we also saw them going after, one of the senators, their restaurants and all that. So, what do you think about Wike's action?
It is undemocratic. You can't force everybody to be on your side. In a democracy, people should be free to hold their views. People should be free to propound their views. You don't come and assume the role of God over everybody because you funded the party. If there are steps that Wike is taking now, and which these people deem illegal, they can approach the court for a relief. Because you can't tell me that because of my opinion, you are going to destroy my means of livelihood. No, it's unacceptable. Political support and affiliations is part of human being. It is not part of my business. I am Aliu Mohammed. I can decide to support APC. I can decide to support PDP. I can decide to support any party, but not Magnet Communications. They are two different entities. Going as far as trying to touch their means of livelihood is illegal. Those who are so dealt with should be free to approach the courts, because at the end of the day, a man cannot become a tyrant because you funded a party when there was nobody to do it. It came out of your own personal volition to do it. You don't now lord it over everybody, including the presidential candidate, the national chairman. You are saying it should be removed. Do you want to be the national chairman? It took a convention. That is the law. It took a convention to elect the national chairman. It will take another convention to remove him. Forget about all the removals done during the reigns of Obasanjo as president of Nigeria. He would just go to the house of a national chairman, ask him to sign a resignation letter. Those were illegal actions. So it will take a national convention duly convened to remove the national chairman.
Do you think now they should go ahead with the campaign, saying that senior Wike's
No man is an island. Wike cannot, it shouldn't, and cannot, and it should not disrupt the commencement of the campaigns of that party. You cannot claim to be lord over anybody. You may have money. There are people that are richer than him in Nigeria. So if he is not embracing compromises, then they should go ahead and kickstart the campaign.
All right, still talking about 2023 election, the INEC has said that Commission has not jettisoned the electronic transmission of election results and reverted to the manual process. Now, of course, there were rumors last week.
No. I think the INEC chairman was interviewed.
Yes,
and he made a statement which people misunderstood. That they are in the process of studying. Yes, it doesn't translate to mean that the electronic transfer of election results will be jettisoned. No. In fact, it is the best thing to happen to our electoral process in this country. Politicians who are planning to rig should have a change of mind. It is the best thing that has happened to our electoral process in Nigeria. I am happy and proud of the amendment that has been done to Section 50 or so of the Electoral Act. Now the politicians will know that you cannot thumbprint ballot papers again after election. Whatever is counted at each polling booth goes straight electronically to INEC. And so, if you go ahead to thumbprint, you probably will count that in your house.
In your own house.
So it is a dynamic decision. I commend it. I am happy that politicians will now work harder instead of paying. Yes, they will still pay to ensure that people vote for them. That is the best they can do. You can buy votes. Yes, you can, but
It will be hard to rig it like
yes,
this.
yes.
All right, just talking about this, I think this reminded me of during the Osun State election where, we saw some people saying that there was no data, to transfer the result, and some youth had to stop them, to tell them that, no, don't worry, we have what
No, that was nothing but sabotage. Those who wanted to favor a particular candidate. But I am not against any candidate. I want to be fair, and I expect that INEC will be fair and transparent in whatever they do now. That once people count votes at polling booths, it goes straight electronically. So where you don't have electricity, you can use generators. Yes, you have to use generators. You have to ensure that whoever is transmitting the result is given enough data so that we won't have a situation where somebody will come and say, I didn't have data. That's why the election result did not come early. It's not impossible that we will have that kind of situation, but it will be the results so affected will be a subject of controversy. So we have to be careful in the way we ensure that people do not rig elections. It is one dynamic step that should be commended by all well-meaning Nigerians. I am concerned about a situation where people will count 20 votes at the polling booth. By the time it gets to INEC, 20 will become 20,000. They would have put 3 zeros. So all that will stop now. So politicians will have to go back, work hard, engage the people, convince them to vote for them in all future elections.
Do you think we're a step close to voting electronically?
Yes, we are, but unfortunately, majority of our voters are illiterate. They are illiterate. But from what I have read recently, the electoral voting system is already being taught in some parts of the country, and this is wrong. It is wrong. It is nothing but cheating. If it is true, it is nothing but cheating. I have seen videos of some people being taught how to vote electronically in some parts of the country. If we are going to start that process, it should be nationwide, not in some parts of the country. If we get to the level of voting electronically, it might be shaky initially. We might have initial problems, which is normal with every new system. But it is the best way to go. It will reduce thuggery. It will reduce infighting on election days. It will reduce tension. You know what leads to fights and shooting is the fact that people will go and increase the number of votes being taken from one polling booth to INEC for counting. And the other party will say, no, you have done this, and there will be fights. Exchange of gunfire and all that. We've had enough of all those criminal activities during elections. Look at other parts of the world. Elections are held during working hours. People will go to work, on their way back home, they will stop by and vote peacefully. Because the moment they are voting, their vote goes into the electronic system.
But are we looking forward to this? Do you think it's something that will be possible during the 2023?
It should be possible. If I can stay in my house and send data to Damilola in Maiduguri, then we can do it.
Anytime.
It's a very simple thing. Polling booth A, they have counted 200. Put it on your phone and let everybody see that you are actually sending 200 and you are not increasing 200 to 200,000. They will witness it, and there it goes. You can see that the Osun election, the counting was completed the same day. By midnight, the result was out.
All right, let's quickly touch on this one before we end the program, and that's the Paris Club refund, and that the consultants working on the London and Paris Club refunds on Saturday alleged that the Nigerian Governors Forum (NGF) demanded and received the sum of $100 million to prosecute election in some states. Well, of course, meanwhile, MGF, they took a swipe at this consultant saying, they were not involved or in receipt of $100 million. Now, so what do you think about this? Coming from consultants in that.
The consultant is no other person than Neduoko. Neduoko is claiming that instead of $418 million, that what they owe his company is 68 million. But the governors are saying that there are other consultants that worked with Neduoko's company during the vetting for the excess payment or excess deduction from the Paris Club loan. But Nwoko is claiming $68 million just for his own company, abandoning the other consultants. The truth of the matter is that we must know the exact position of the finances or deductions from the Paris Club funds. That is when you can decide whether Nwoko is saying the truth or not. Is it true that the governors requested for $100 million to facilitate elections in Osun and Ekiti? The governors, if they truly did, will not come out to tell you that it happened. Neduoko has said he has said his own, and the governors are saying no, he is not right. Some independent people should go into this matter and let us know the true situation, because it is embarrassing to sit and hear that somebody stole 99 billion naira one day, and the next thing you are hearing that governors requested for $100 million to facilitate elections in 2 states, in a country where people are suffering, in a country where the price of bread is now between 1,000 and 1,003, in a country where the price of food has gone beyond the skies, in a country where a tuber of yam is now 3,000 or 4,000. If we are not careful, we are inviting the wrath of the masses who are daily listening to this high figure being manipulated by politicians. We have to be careful here, because a lot of businesses are not doing well. A lot of people are suffering. So many people cannot even eat. They can't afford a square meal. Go to the hospitals and see what is going on there. Last week here, I saw patients being treated right inside their cars because they don't have bed spaces for people to stay. It is embarrassing. And so it's like we are in the midst of so much money, yet there is poverty everywhere. Because if we are not careful, people are coming out to revolt against bad governments. You saw what happened in Sri Lanka. So don't sit down and think that it cannot happen in any part of the world. When people are pushed to the wall, they will fight back. So the governors should come out and let the people know the truth about the actual deduction and whatever was given to each consultant from the payment from this Paris Club funds.
Now, there's a lot coming from Neduoko. He alleged that when he submitted a bill of $350 million as the consultancy fee, the state governors demanded to be paid 50% of it before it could be honored. 50% of the 3 million.
Damilola, nobody was there when this happened.
Exactly.
I cannot hold brief for the governors. Neither can I believe Neduoko. You know the kind of character that he is. So that is why the governors are quick to accuse him of dishonesty. It may be a form of blackmail. He may be saying the truth, but again, because of the character of the person making this allegation, it is difficult to believe him. And so that's why I'm saying they should come out with the details. We have a government in place. We have a minister of finance. Let them go into the details of these transactions and stop coming out with all these huge figures in the midst of poverty. in the midst of lack. Students are at home, they can't go to school. Government is looking for money to fund ASUU payments, and you have this kind of huge amount of money, not in naira, in dollars. And people cannot account for it. All the airlines, the reliable ones from abroad, are pulling out of the country because they can't remit whatever proceeds that they have made in Nigeria in dollars back to their countries. It is embarrassing that a country like Nigeria finds it difficult to permit foreign airlines to remit their income to their country in dollars. It is disturbing, it is embarrassing. Look at local flights. To fly from here to Abuja now, you need not less than 250,000 naira. That is the cost of flying to Ghana or Gambia in those days. To move by road locally is not safe. To move by train locally is not safe. Airfares are unaffordable. So how do we move? That means you are restricted to wherever you are.
All right, thank you, Mr. Liu. And of course, let's just end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. And speaking first today is Mrs. She says, only a heartless man will say his wife is shedding crocodile tears. And Mr. replies, I'm sorry, my dear. Since your name is Joy, let's say it's tears of joy.
Well, tears of joy. It's better to shed tears of joy and let the woman feel happy than to say it's crocodile tears. Every woman will feel offended at such a statement.
Of course, because we believe when you say crocodile tears, it means it's fake tears that you're talking about. Thank you very much, Mr. Ali Mohammed, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Damilola.
Yes, and of course, it's now the CEO of Magnets Communication, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper, and he just analyzed some of the stories on the front pages with us. Now, to get more of our top stories, you can follow us on all the social media platforms showing on your screen, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. And to get more of our top stories, you can visit our website, www.vanguardngr.com. Today is Monday. Have a lovely week. I'm Dambola Okushaken. It's bye from me on Today in the News.